Welcome to Martin Survival. Today my buddy Kiowa and I are going to take you step by step in how to make a net. So stick around, we got a great show coming up. All right folks, so I want to welcome you back to Martin Survival, and I want to first of all go over the uses of a net, and we're also going to touch base on modern materials as well as more traditional materials. So Kiowa, you wove these two nets. This one I understand you wove yesterday.
Last night, actually.
Last night,
yeah.
Excellent. So take us through this net.
Well, this is just a typical small carrying bag here that was used traditionally by many different native peoples around the world. I don't, just a little note, I don't particularly mess around with particular ethnographic examples as far as primitive skills go. I try to follow the principle behind the skill because that's what matters to me.
Definitely.
But anyway, yeah, this is just jute twine, very easy material to acquire and just to practice on, just have some fun with. So this is a typical netting with the reverse wrap 2-ply cord attached to it with then little grommets attached to a braided strap that holds everything together here.
Yeah, so you guys can see that strap up top. So he can use this for carrying different minerals. You can carry different pigments. If you come across chert or obsidian,
your flint napping tools, definitely.
Absolutely,
yeah.
You can carry this. And folks, I gotta say, I think carrying vessels, nets, pottery, baskets are highly underestimated in today's day and age.
Absolutely.
We take these modern day conveniences for granted. So again, these are just two nets he's made. This one's a far larger one.
Yeah. This one's a pretty large net here with a little braided tump line on it. I could carry a heavy load with this one. I could hunt potentially rabbits with this. Maybe the diamonds are a little bit too. Yep, absolutely. Yeah. Fishing.
Larger fish, of
course. The beautiful thing about nets is that, first of all, they're extremely versatile in the sense that when they're not in use, it's just a net. So it's extremely lightweight. I could use this to fish, carry things, trap and hunt. I can use this for so many different applications.
And like you said,
incredible.
It's light.
It's extremely lightweight.
It has no weight whatsoever.
Yep. So in my opinion, it's
practical.
Very practical. It's a very valuable skill to attain.
Yeah. And this is what we're going to use today. This is, again, jute twine. This is, of course, a modern day convenience. But since we have it available, we don't have to twist up some of the natural cordage. Now, I have made nets out of natural cordage, Mojave yucca to be exact. This is what is found in this area, along with dog bane. You have Spanish bayonet.
We have Spanish bayonet, Perry's agave, banana yucca in particular. Yeah. That was the most widely used fiber material here in this region. So
tall. This is a piece of bear grass.
Yes.
So again, referencing back to one of my other videos, we have a step-by-step demonstration on exactly how to process and twist up yucca cord. I would recommend that if you do decide to experiment with more traditional materials. So with that said, let's go ahead and start getting into the net making process, and we'll show you the first step in how to do so. All right, folks, so what we've done is we took 12 strands total and we measured our arm's length. Now keep in mind, the larger the net you want to make, the more material you're going to need. So this net is going to be very small, much like one I made a couple weeks ago. But if we want a larger net, we want to measure 2 to 3 arms length. So you can see how that can be quite time consuming with natural materials. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take this 12th strand, we're going to trace the 2 tag ends together, and I'm going to get those even, and I'm going to pinch up top, and I'm going to trace back down, and I'm going to create an overhand knot. So I'll just take these 2 ends, and again, these are just dangling down. We have our loop at the top. We're going to twist it around, and we're just going to feed it through and pull tight.
In this particular starting of a net, this is called a grommet start, where you start with just the loop. and this is going to be the bottom of your net. So now we're going to continue on with a series of lark's head knots. You take your other strands that you've acquired, and just like we did the first time, you find the 2 tag ends, and then you trace it down to the middle. And then what you're doing is you're finding this loop here, and then we're taking this loop, placing it over the top of this original loop here, and then simply feeding the 2 tag ends underneath in like this. And I'll do that again for you so you can see what I did exactly. So there. So again, we're doing the same thing as we did the first time. Find the 2 tag ends, find the middle point, and then just continue to add on. So the loop goes over, and then the 2 tag ends go underneath and through, like so. And we're going to continue adding these strands all around until they cover this whole circle.
Now, one thing I want to point out, folks, is you can see he has these tag ends kind of separated so they're not all bundled together.
Yes.
That can also help you out in organization.
Definitely.
So that's what I always do. Each one that I add on, I kind of spread it out and I organize them by each individual strand.
Yeah, because...
Or each individual group, excuse me.
Yeah, because after a while, especially if you're working on a large net where this length is triple the amount, it can get pretty confusing and you end up just with a tangled mess.
Okay, so as you can see, we have all of our lark's head knots tied around that center loop we created in the beginning of this video. So at this point, like I said, it's very important to organize each grouping of strands because this is where it can kind of get messy. So what we do is we follow 2 tag ends and we separate them just like so. So I'm going to start off by using these 2 tag ends, and I'm going to find the 2 inner strands, and I'm going to pinch those together and create an overhand knot. And depending on the spacing of your diamond, you can either pinch this down lower or move it up higher. So if I'm carrying mineral pigments like ochre, or if I'm carrying small obsidian flakes, I want to pinch this as low as possible. So again, this just depends on what you're going to use in the net or what object you're going to use. For game like fish, for wild edibles, some of the yucca hearts, some of the beargrass hearts, you can add a little bit more room. But since I'm going to use this for gathering mesquite pods, I want to go ahead and pinch this down a bit lower. So again, I'm just taking those 2 tag ends and I'm creating an overhand knot. I'm feeding it through and I'm going to pull tight. And as I'm doing this, I'm constantly separating each individual strand so this doesn't get all bunched up. And I want to pull that nice and tight. So I have that first one made, as you can see here. So I found those 2 inner strands again, and I'm going to throw that around, feed the material through, just like that. And I'm just going to kind of move this knot in line with my other knot. So I want them directly parallel. And I just pull tight so you can see how that looks. Both of these knots are touching each other when I spread the material out. So at that point, I keep them organized, I shift my body, and I move on to the other strands. I just take those two inner strands again, I pinch them together, and I just create my overhand knot. So I just feed the material through. So by the time you get done with this entire circle, this entire first circle I should say, you should have a sun pattern. It's really a beautiful thing. And again, when working with some of the natural materials like the yucca, the bear grass, the willows, the dogbane, you're making a connection to the earth. You are making a connection to your spiritual self, and it's just a beautiful thing. So I pinch again, I'll feed the material through. Get that nice and lined up and pull tight. So it's important to keep these knots tight. That's just going to help keep together, and it's going to ultimately help secure your net. A lot of the natives in this area, I've seen different examples or different archaeological examples of nets that they would make. Very, very similar pattern. Pottery was huge in the Southwest as well as the West Coast. So again, containers out here were just everything. I mean, any region around the world, every primitive culture had some kind of vessel to carry their objects. They had a vessel to cook their food, store their food. Just truly a brilliant thing. Or brilliance at its best, I should say.